Coming hot. Hot.
My name is Max.
This guy is Samson.
We got a camera, some mics, so you know what's happening.
Some shows are great.
And some shows are smart.
Some shows make no sense right from the start.
We try to split the difference.
And try to do it all.
We'll save you the suspense.
Here's
what it's called. This is the Pretty Good Podcast.
Chorus line.
It's the chorus line.
It's the perfect time.
It's the perfect time to describe what this show is in a few lines. As long as we're not interrupted.
Yeah, a lot of the time. Are we recording already?
Yeah.
Sweet.
We start organic. So Ian!
What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Ian.
That's me. Hey.
What's your
Ian.
deal? Go off.
Where do you want to start? What's my deal? I care a lot about too many stupid things and homeless, tell jokes, a lot of fun things. What do you want to talk about? It always comes back to leftist politics.
Okay. Homeless comedian is interesting.
Yeah.
Expand.
I feel like it's a decent niche here in Boise for sure. Mm-hmm. Because like you don't the homeless people in Boise are not nearly as visible. I don't know if any of you have lived in a bigger city.
Oh
than
yeah,
Boise.
I've lived in Portland like for a little bit, and like obviously like starch difference, like
Oh yeah.
or Stark maybe.
Yeah, Stark would be it, but you know,
I don't know.
Portland
Starch.
starch.
Yeah.
I mean, the white flight communities,
Okay.
I think if you
sundown
mix
towns,
water with corn starch,
For sure,
you
for
make
sure.
that stuff.
non-Newtonian fluid. Oobleck. Yeah. It's
Same thing.
No, yeah, there's definitely a lot more homeless population too in Portland. I feel like.
I think there's a lot of contributing factors, and a lot of it has to do with infrastructure, because Portland does have a lot of good things for homeless people. And really, I mean, it would be a disservice not to comment on a lot of the hostility in Portland toward homeless people. I mean, I saw in the news not too long ago that somebody had like set somebody's tent on fire while they were in it, kind of deal. Like, it's not necessarily safe out there, but they do have a lot more resources as far as like getting you off the streets into like long-term shelter.
For sure.
You know, kind of housing first approaches where they have, you know, even with waiting lists and stuff, they get people off the streets and then set them up with what resources they need to, you know, continue. And I ran into a lot of people in Portland while I was there that really did just show up with whatever they had, you know, a car loaded down with stuff or a backpack loaded down with stuff, and, you know, just trying to run away from wherever they were and get their start there. And you can really see that in a place like Portland where they can actually do it. You know, there's resources to stick the landing.
Yeah.
And you do have people, you know, camping on the streets all over and wandering the streets all over. And I think a lot of the reason you don't see that as much around here is because we're a lot more hostile toward it. We keep it suppressed. And I don't mean a lot more hostile because, you know, there are the sweeps in Portland, and there are, like I said, people burning down people's tents with them inside and all that fun things. And I think around here it's just, you know, it's such an aberration to see somebody sleeping on a bench that, you know, somebody's going to get called about it. They're going to get a welfare check. And, and depending on the cop that shows up, that might be more or less of a welfare in mind kind of check. And you're just not going to be allowed to carry on like that around here. So
For sure.
So the people that do survive on the streets around here tend to be very discreet. And I think some people could construe that as, you know, being more mindful and respectful of the resources that you have. But I think, you know, when it's enforced at gunpoint, it's kind of hard to call it mindfulness or respect. Was that?
Did it? I was wondering. Did you just like jerk your head away or something?
I did kind of. Is that the gain?
I can hear you back now. It
There's
sounds fine. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that was strange.
But
No, yeah, I definitely like where we grew up in McCall, you know, 100 miles north of here, like resort town. There's like, I remember being a kid and like seeing maybe one homeless person in town, and immediately like the cops were on him and had driven him to the edge of town and were like, you can go anywhere, but you can't stay here. Like,
And what law was he breaking? Was he loitering?
No, yeah, exactly.
You
like,
know?
and like he's just walking along the beach side, just like everybody else, but he just so happens to have a grocery cart full of everything he owns, right? And so,
as opposed to a golf bag full of umbrellas and blankets.
Exactly.
And there's also the thing that we kind of just send them all to Portland, and
there is a lot of that, and that's the self-enforcing part of that policy is when they talk about expanding public transit, well, we don't want to attract a poor element because Portland has amazing public transit and there's always homeless people on it because it's easy to get around.
Nice.
It's easy to get on and off without paying for a ticket or getting caught, and it's expensive if you get caught, but it's
no, and Boise needs to invest in some public transportation.
Oh, for sure.
We need a train line that goes
our buses
Caldwell
suck shit.
to Boise, Caldwell to East Boise, the same way that the line in Portland goes from Gresham all the way up to Tigard,
Yeah, they're to Tigard?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure where Tigard is.
It's north, east, northwest.
How long ago were you in Portland?
I go there on and off because my dad lives right outside of town.
Okay.
And so I lived there all of last summer, and then I was just there last weekend.
Yeah.
And then I visit probably once every few months.
Yeah, I was there for 6 weeks 4 years ago, so I have a snapshot window of what was going on, and they were definitely still expanding the trains themselves, but I would get off at Clackamas and take a bus all the way into Escondido to work at a plastics factory, and it was a couple hours in the morning that I had to get up early to get there, but for $100 a month for transportation that gets you everywhere, that runs almost all the time, it's stops at 3 or 4 a.m. and it starts at 6 a.m. most nights. Doing comedy there was amazing. Catching a bus home after a late mic and everybody's closed down and everybody's wandered home and nobody's got a ride, and it's fuck, there's a bus stop right here and the bus is still running. It was and frequent stops and everywhere. It's really great. And then you come back over here and I'm thinking, maybe I could really make a run. I got to go back home where I have more resources to sleep and wake up rested and I figured out I can really make it work. And then I looked at the transit schedules and I'm I gotta walk a few miles to the nearest bus stop, and then they pretty much only accommodate if you're working basically a Monday, Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And who that relies on public transportation has access to that kind of schedule?
No one.
That's such a slim freaking margin. You're pretty much just the people who are eco bros that are we need public transit for environmental reasons.
Let's take the bus today.
Yeah.
Right?
That'll be fun.
I'm really not into single person transportation, so I'm really about the bus.
I remember my car was in the shop one time, and it was either Uber for $30 or try to catch the one bus we have here. And there was the 2 lanes that went right past it, and it was in the far middle lane. So it wasn't even if they saw me, they were, in the middle of the road. So they weren't pulling over, and they just drove right past me. And then they did it 2 more stops down. And so, it's sometimes more convenient to pay a ridiculously higher amount of money because they'll get you. But the bus system here blows chunks.
I know there was a protest several years ago here where a bunch of the high school kids got it in their heads they wanted to be able to flag down the buses. They should stop for you. And I'm that's ridiculous.
Oh, hailing a taxi or something?
Yeah. Can you imagine trying to get anywhere on a bus and the schedule is never on time and it's always so much
5
longer,
minutes.
right? Every time somebody decides, hey, I need to catch that bus.
Oh, you know what? I'm tired of walking. Let me catch this bus.
Is that the bus down the road?
Oh, I hear a bus coming. Let me stop it.
Right?
Let me stop it and then walk into the woods because I'm going to be an asshole today.
There's going to be those dickheads that, stop the bus just to be no, I'm good.
Yeah. I think the common sense solution is to run it a lot more like Portland, where you have stops everywhere and buses coming every 10, 15 minutes. I got on the wrong way. I got across the street one morning on my way to the plastics factory, and I caught a bus going the wrong direction down the street. Jumped off that bus, and it was, according to my phone, it was if you want to be to work on time, you have to catch this bus at this time, catch it to that bus, and this is the one time you go. And I was on time. I was not early or ahead, but I caught the bus going the wrong way, jumped off, crossed the street, caught the bus going back. I'm going to be fucking late for work. I showed up on time.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the same time as ever.
great.
I got caught back up to the bus that, you know, like one of the, I guess you'd
like-
call it a bottleneck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
I got to Clackamas in time to catch my friggin', what was it? My transfer. I get my connection.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, you just need more. And,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the thing with public transportation.
No, yeah, I've been saying it for a while. We definitely. I don't understand. Like, we have train tracks. Why don't they just get a couple trains like
Yeah.
to run on the tracks that are already there? There's a train depot that's
Mhm.
just there as what, like decoration, like
Yep.
It is pretty.
It's
So-
I mean, yeah, I'll give it that. But I mean, there was a point in time when that was a like legitimate train depot, and you could buy
Yeah.
tickets to go
Yeah.
to places on trains, and like, I don't understand why we just don't still use trains, because they make like electric trains and shit too now.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I don't get it. I feel
Well-
like that would just be like, you know, it's because anything that makes sense, Idaho's like,
Yeah. Well, and there's when you really
Hot
start to
take.
drill down into the why of that, and all of the you got to, you know, really look at history and what led up to it, and not just, you know, the history that we're taught in
Yeah.
general, but like what actually happened. There's always somebody's interest being protected. And there's a lot of criticism made about American cities in general being completely dictated by automotive traffic. And like, if you look at, there's these really cool like old GIFs of, well, I mean, they're made into GIFs now, but they're like old footage of like early film, people filming just like busy inner city seats.
Oh, yeah.
Inner city streets. Sorry, I have speech issues sometimes.
Feel bad.
But you see like pretty wide street, and there's it's just packed full of people, and you've got these great big horse-drawn carriages, you know, with kegs in the back of whatever they're hauling, and some of them are on tracks. Like some of the horse-drawn ones are even on tracks, because it's like people are going to know that that's going here. It's not, they're not turning off. They don't have to steer super much. They're just slowly plodding forward. And they had a mix of, I think they had streetcars, like actual electric, like trolleys kind of stuff. They had early automobiles, and pedestrians just constantly swarming back and forth across the street. There's no crosswalk, wait to cross, go to the end of the block kind of thing that we do now. It was just a buzz of activity, and everybody's just kind of moving along, and you can see people navigating through traffic as they go through. And honestly, that was really better. And we do have
Cars couldn't go like
yeah.
very fast then either, which probably was a good.
Well, I mean, very fast is that's quite a spectrum. You
Yeah.
know, when you consider the potential of danger.
Or it's like they didn't outnumber people, right, on the
Yeah.
street. You know, like
And-
today everybody has
yeah.
a car versus like back then it was like
Right.
not everybody
And-
had
and-
the cars.
More so than the capability of the cars, it was the traffic, the conditions that caused it to go slower. And what you see with early automobiles is a lot of yuppies that have access to this new technology and not really a lot of responsibility for conducting themselves appropriately. And so you start to see a lot more fatalities related to automobiles. So automobile manufacturers decide to get ahead of the news and say, because they're being demonized a lot of the time. And again, the problem is spoiled fucking rich kids that need to learn how to operate these things safely.
That's kind of insane to think about. Like,
Yeah.
it's like people's care goes down, then car safety, which is like Teslas and shit, where they try to make them safer, that goes up. Then that makes them dumber, and then they can out-dumb the advancement of that car until then we have to go even fucking crazier.
Yeah.
And then where does it end?
I mean, it ends at, fully automated transportation, I guess.
Yeah. I had a college professor who would like preach that by the time we hit like, I don't know, 50 years down the road, like all commuters are basically going to be like owned by one company. It's going to be like a big warehouse full of these like small cars that are all automated. They're going to pick you up. They're going to go into the freeway. They're all going to be like coded together. So they're going to be like super tight, just like.
So he saw
driving you-
iRobot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He saw iRobot and he started teaching it in class.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot to be said for that, and a lot of people talk about independent transportation, but I really personally see a more sensible future. And I'm not making predictions of what will happen, because a lot of that involves capitalist interest. But I think the more probable, realistic solution would be, yes, increasing automation, but also things more like trains and buses and public transit. Things that have dedicated lanes, like in Portland, some of those bridges that are just buses and trains that are
killer.
It feels like you're driving through a canal, like you're in this big like concrete just like corridor.
Yep.
And in a bus over train tracks, you're like, we're not supposed to be here, but you're on the schedule. You've got an audio level. God, there's something I'm trying to think of. I feel like it's every time I get too loud, it quiets me down.
Like an automated, like
A gate, a noise gate or something. On there.
I think it does. It kind of like if it has like that like peaking thing in there, so it definitely could be like.
So if I were to, there you go.
Yep.
We can. I think this one's yours. So we turn it.
Oh, there I go. There I go out and down and.
So you should be able to hear you better, and then this will pick your voice up.
Like NPR. Today we're going to be discussing misophonia, which if you have it, you just clicked off violently. But yeah, I think a lot of common sense transit would be a lot more just like step on the train, get to where you're going. A lot of pedestrian stuff. Holland is actually doing a lot of cool stuff and has been for the last couple decades around reorganizing city streets, and that was kind of where I was
like building them so that they're putting like the streets underneath and then like rebuilding these walkways, like nature walkways. Is that what you're talking about?
That's certainly a part of it. That's not a part of it that I had heard as much about, but just to touch back a little bit more on the history is this commingling of the streets and stuff. The auto manufacturers fought back in media, and if you're familiar with any of the history of marijuana, this will sound really familiar, because they basically come out with a bunch of ad campaigns, which a lot of times are presented as news articles that are like, don't you hate it when those dirty, undesirable people, the ones I mean, go walking like a jaybird across the street, and like jaywalking and jaybird was a slanderous term, a racist term for black people, which again, if you look at the origins of Tom and Jerry, that's horrible as well. That was not a cat and mouse. But jaywalking, our modern law, and the name of it is literally racist in its original proposal. So they're like, the problem is not automobiles. You should be able to safely careen your metal death trap through the middle of the street that everybody had access to originally. And they just completely changed the laws around prioritizing vehicle traffic and not impeding that.
Wow.
And they used black people as the scapegoat for, all of these motor vehicle deaths are because these black people are just
waltzing
walk
across
out right
the
in front of
street.
you. And
wow.
They shouldn't be allowed to walk in the street that was originally designed for everybody to walk on. That's what it was for. It was walking streets. And so now the thing going on in Holland is the thing that I was looking at it through. They proposed this concept of stroads, which is like street road mix, and they say you should have like city streets and like high traffic roads as like a separation thing, and roads would be more about like getting from A to B over distance at speed. You want to have fewer intersections and anything to interrupt it. You want to have exclusion zones on the side, so if anybody loses control or has a breakdown, they
got room.
They got room. There's not a sidewalk full of people right there. And streets are like, if you think of like over here on like Broad and 8th Street, like right over by the PF Chang's, like there's two little streets there with parking right alongside. They got sidewalks right there, super convenient to walk through. You never walk over to the crosswalk because you can just meander through. People are driving slowly through there, and they're there to park. They're not there to get through, for
sure.
I am, because it's a good shortcut.
It is a good shortcut sometimes. But you still have to slow down for the pedestrians.
You do. There's like 2 stop signs in there.
And then hanging around Mad Sweet downtown lately, the that 8th Street exclusion zone where they, I guess they started the pandemic. They just blocked vehicle traffic through
Is that
those extra 2
permanent?
blocks.
Or
That's what I've been hearing. That they're going to make it like it's just here to stay.
That's nice.
And I would like to see them commit to that because it's still got all the lines painted. They took out the parking meters.
yeah, they just have like barricades in front, don't they? Right
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they had the barricades originally installed because they're like the proper like
Yeah.
removable barricades, and I think they were originally installed for like the farmers market stuff and all the stuff that they usually do in the summer. But yeah, I wish they would take the rest of those barricades down. And just leave the car blocking pylons and just make it not look like a road as well, because it would be nice to be able to cross the street through the middle of the street and not have to like funnel through these 2 choke points.
Because I don't think I've ever like, I don't think I've ever like, I've definitely driven that through that road when it's been open, but I've never been like, I fucking wish that was open, because then I could finally cut through. But it's not an inconvenience to not have that there.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
And there's so much going on, and they've opened up those big patios for, and that's probably why they did it in the first place.
Yeah,
is so they could have
all
more
those
spaced
restaurants.
seating. And lately, I've been going over there advertising comedy shows to people who are there to eat dinner, and we're getting so many more people in because like
Oh yeah, because it's right around the corner.
having foot traffic is good for business.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's the whole Strode thing is not only do you have these high traffic, high speed, many intersections, all sorts of distractions and collision opportunities with people right there, but then on the other side of the sidewalk is just parking lots, and you're out there in the middle of the sun cooking your ass off. It's not comfortable to walk on. You rarely see people on the sidewalks because it's inconvenient, and why would you? It's super far to get to anywhere.
Yeah.
You're going, it is neither a way to go through or to get places. It's that's where Walgreens is. So they really made a case for really kind of redoing public transit, and in Holland, primed for it before they started making major infrastructural changes over the last couple decades. They have a really good history with bicycles.
Yeah.
They have a particular kind of bicycle called an Omafiets, which is just basically your grandma's bike. Like your mom's mom rides a bike, like Omafiets. And it's like your everyday cruiser. And like there's a few key characteristics, one of which is you should be able to swing your leg over the handlebar in the middle. Like it's a step-through frame. You should be able to be in a comfortably seated position. So, compared to like a performance bike where you're all
lean back kind of.
well, you're like sitting upright, like you're in a chair. Your arms are kind of in a comfortable position, and it's all around a comfortable ride. There may be a couple of gears, there may not be gears. They're just kind of normal road gear. Fenders and all of it is pretty much like people in numbers that we couldn't imagine. Bike to work, bike as their daily commute, bike to the grocery store. It's all bicycle travel. And your regular daily driver bike is this Omafiets style where it's got the fenders, it's probably got stock racks that maybe you've got somebody riding a jump on the back, and being able to step through and having those fenders and full chain guards allows you to show up in the clothes you work in.
You can bike with jeans on.
Right.
Holy
you can bike in a
shit.
dress, in a full length dress. You can bike comfortably. Anything that you're wearing, and you can show up to work in your suit and hopefully not have any mud or road grime on you because the fenders and the chain guards. They're just
It's
incredible.
just the little things,
Yeah.
It's fun. This is probably the most serious episode we've ever done.
I never
Holy
think
shit.
about how chain guards and fenders block mud off. I just think about how uncool they look.
Yeah.
I
Like,
get
I
that.
can't grind a rail with this. Bullshit.
I used to love biking. I actually got my bicycle merit badge when I was a kid and was super proud of that. But
That's sick.
yeah, I had to bike 50 miles in one go. That was fucking crazy.
That's gnarly. That's a long bike ride.
Well, and it was
For you.
after a week of like 15, 20, 25, like various other different lengths. We had to like do a certain number of each of those, and then there was one 50-miler we did at the very last of it. So we worked our way up to it. But
Was that like Cub Scouts or
that was Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts?
That was when I did it. It was right between. It was the summer between like middle school and high school. So
Okay.
like, just before ninth grade.
Did you go all the way through? Or
Eagle Scout?
Yeah.
No, I was raised Mormon. I dropped the church in high school, and
classic.
Okay.
I was interested in the skills of the scouting program. I wasn't as necessarily interested in pursuing Eagle Scout.
It's so boring for the most. There's like 10% fun in Boy Scouts, and then the rest is tucking in your fucking shirt.
Right. Yeah. And
I never wanted to do that.
Very much is
We blow.
just male, right? We swear it means we'll be loyal scouts. Sure
Wait,
it does.
what?
Or whatever.
The Weeblows.
What was that handshake they,
They
had?
actually
the-
say that?
I
They
don't
say
know
we
that
blow?
Weeblows. There's the S on there. It stands for We'll Be Loyal Scouts.
They
It's
don't
between-
actually say that.
It's
Weeblow.
between Boy Scouts and regular
Or Cub Scouts
between
and
Cub
Boy
Scouts and
Scouts?
Boy Scouts. There's a little time in there where it's like you're too old to be the little kids. You're too
Just
young
old
to be
enough
the
to
big
blow
kids.
your counselor, though.
Right.
Yeah, that. So like
Right.
that's like why
With
is
all
everyone
the-
so confused on why there's like issues with that if like a whole group is just called
You know,
we
it-
blows.
Yeah, they're pretty open about it. Like,
It's
everybody
funny
knows.
hindsight,
Like,
right?
doesn't everybody know?
Hindsight's funny like that. Like you
Oh
see,
my God, that's
you see
fucking wild.
somebody in the news for like assault or whatever, and you go back and you start watching their bits, like if it's a stand up or whatever, and you're like, oh, they were just out here saying it. I
Yeah.
thought those were jokes. Oh,
Yeah, no, they were
telling
just
on
violent.
themselves. Right? They're just
it's like, not a joke, I guess.
we thought
Oh,
you were
man.
cool.
Well, anyways, the activities I planned are
Okay.
not as serious, but
Okay.
we're going to basically answer 10 questions to see if we're geniuses, and then 10 questions to see if we're losers.
Well, I think I'm kind of a genius and a loser, so
was
we're
gonna
gonna
say,
see how this
can-
goes.
Well,
Can
we're
I
going
not
to
be
see
both?
where on that
Yeah.
spectrum we are. We're going to see where we land on that. But there's a
I always-
website called 12 Warning Signs That You're Dating a Loser and 10 Signs You're Actually a Genius, even if you don't think so.
You're dating a loser, so is it gonna ask questions about the person who's dating the loser or about the loser?
I don't know, but you can probably answer them, like they're being asked to you.
Okay.
So genius or loser first.
Let's start with genius.
Okay.
Just
And
'cause
then
we need
bring us down.
we need a good hit to our ego before we find out. Yeah, we're losers.
Sign number 1. You don't fit in a box. Of all the signs, you're actually a genius. This ranks number 1. You think
Okay.
uniquely and approach problems and solutions in ways that surprise and sometimes even confuse those around you.
I thought this was
this
gonna
is-
be like a list.
I thought it was gonna be a quiz,
yeah, I thought
yeah.
it was gonna be a quiz, not just like a list of like BuzzFeed.
Do you think?
Like
Stop tearing it down. We're not there yet.
But it is the
It's just a
horoscope cold
horoscope,
reading.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just cold reading. But
Man, just
saying nice things
Okay.
that are gonna make
just
you
have
feel
some
warm.
fucking fun with it. Okay.
okay. So I
Can't win with you guys.
I am genderqueer, non-binary. I'm pansexual, polyamorous, switch. Don't ask me where I want to go to eat. There's nothing like. Was my favorite subject in school? Yes. Not school, but subject. Sure. Let's learn. Go to school. Fuck no.
I feel that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of personal relationship I have to not being pigeonholed into a box.
Yeah.
That's what's killing it. It's the pee pops.
Oh, you're
popping it out,
popping
yeah.
your
Do I need to do the old school like pencil over the mouth?
I don't know. I used
Nope.
to have covers for them, but I don't know where they went. Damn, sounds like you're either way out of the box or you're a lot of boxes.
You're a pyramid of boxes.
Right?
Maybe a box that's like a crazy shape.
Oh yeah, no, like a Dr. Seuss box.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, just like a
Just like a
infinite-
wonky infinite loop-de-loop of and it like opens and then when it opens it just like turns and you don't understand what's really going on, but
Yeah.
it's nice.
I think also if I were gonna read into that question a little more, I think you're describing a lot of ADHD and certain expressions of autism that you can't be pigeonholed into a box. One of the main characteristics of ADHD is hyperfixations, hyperfocus. So in contrast to what's typical of a lot of expressions of autism, where you would have like special interests that are like lifelong obsession with dinosaurs or fasteners, or it doesn't have to be always the cool ones. Everybody loves dinosaurs, sure, but sorry, I could hear my own wheezing in the microphone. But yeah, with ADHD, those hyperfixations tend to be very like pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. Like oh yeah, I used to knit. I know a lot about a little bit of knitting, and I have 30 unfinished projects started, and then 1,000 books I've read the first chapter of. And
Been there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's real big ADHD energy, especially. And then certain expressions of autism can also be very hard to put in a box. And I would say other expressions are very much you have just your box and that's all you fit in. Mm-hmm. But that box doesn't really tend to fit evenly anywhere into social structures, as is demanded of your labor for capitalism.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's the whole like box thing to me, I feel like is just such a art, like, I don't know. I always use words and then I like think back on when I use them and I'm like, that was the wrong way to use that word. But I'm going to say arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I think that's the right word.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Maybe.
They're actually.
But I mean, like, it's just like people always say like, "Go, don't put me in this box." Like, I don't want to be in this box. It's like, yes, this box. Like by that you mean like generalizations, right? Mm-hmm. And like just thinking that like because one person in a group is like that, everyone is. But it's like, I don't know. I'm just so tired of like combating the box thing. Like, no one is in a box. Like everybody's different. Like, why can't people just like?
Do you
understand?
listen to like a lot of like long form podcasts or watch a lot of YouTube?
Yeah.
Like long videos and stuff. Do you like video essays, lectures?
Yeah.
Check out Robert Sapolsky's Human Behavioral Biology. It's a Stanford lecture that's like 11, 12 years old. Stanford lecture series. So it's the whole class, just the lectures as far as I've found. He talks about some reference material. But I think if you just watch the first episode that kind of introduces like what we're going to be covering in this Stanford University biology class, I think you would fucking love that because he uses the term buckets of thinking, and I like that because a lot of times we use lenses of perspective, like through the lens of this field and that field, and it really it's got certain connotations to it. Whereas a bucket of thinking, like it contains all of these ideas and all of these terms and all of the ways of looking at things through evolutionary psychology, and then there's this bucket of human chemical neurology, and there's endocrinology, and there's so many different fields of research that have something to say about human behavior and human biology and the interplay between the two of them. And the proposition of the class is we're going to familiarize you with a bunch of the relevant buckets to what we're going to be talking about, and then we're going to teach you how to try to think about scenarios of human behavior through all of these different buckets of thinking and the ways that they would analyze this and what they have to contribute to that. And in the first episode where he's giving this proposition, he does a good job of explaining why we think in buckets, like instinctually, humanly, like it is what we do, and ultimately you could argue it's impossible to totally get out of bucket thinking, even with this human behavioral biology thing where you're smashing through the walls and taking from this bucket and this bucket. You're really just building a larger bucket around you, and then the question is, well, how do we start punching holes in the walls of that bucket? But at the very least, pointing out that there are relatively arbitrary ends of the spectrum, where things change from, like, what's the difference between 1 and 2, and a good quick example of that is colors. There's a whole spectrum of light that just bleeds one into another, and when we see a rainbow we go, okay, that's red, that's orange, that's green, that's blue, and we categorize it that way. But other cultures have different languages for the colors, and the wavelengths where they draw the lines may not be in the same place as us, and so they have just offset buckets, and they have a very different relationship. Like in Russia, they have Goluboy and Sinyi for 2 different shades of what we just call blue. It's just light blue and dark blue to us, and they can much quicker and much more accurately distinguish between shades that are considered light blue Goluboy, or I shouldn't say which one's which because I remember the words, I don't remember what they relate to, but yeah, light blue versus dark blue in our language, they can pick them out with greater detail to a closer margin, right? As they get closer and closer to the blurred area between light blue and dark blue, they're able to say, well, this one's light blue, that one's dark blue, where we're starting to, en masse, a whole bunch of us together getting our answers all together, we start to blend them around the middle. And then in our language, and this is the one that I try to use to compare, like, I imagine to them the difference between light blue and dark blue could look as different to them as the difference between orange and brown. Because if you haven't checked it out, orange is just bright brown.
Yeah.
Orange is light blue to brown.
Oh, I don't have orange hair anymore. Never mind. I was going to say.
It really is. It really is just increased brightness, brown. And it's really hard to even see that. But if you start playing with the color wheel in digital, it really you darken it until the point that it becomes brown. And like in your brain, there's a snap between that's orange, that's brown, and there's a slight blur over area. But like learning that to me was like profound. Like, oh, this is actually the same color in the way that dark red and light red are, and that dark blue and light blue are. But linguistically, we've had a distinction for orange based on the fruit, based on William of Orange.
Yeah.
For long enough now, it's relatively new in our language compared to a lot of other concepts of colors. But for long enough now that we see orange and brown as distinctly different colors when they're just not.
So Ian's a genius.
I think about things.
We're gonna go opposite and just go one on the genius site and one on the loser site.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have warned you.
No, dude, it's super interesting.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's
a lot more in-depth conversations than we're normally having about more real topics.
We should talk about dicks and stuff.
Yeah, we just talk about like
this is why
it's like, comedian podcasts.
Yeah.
It's like that.
This is why I get along with comedy, because they give me a light to tell me when to shut the fuck up.
Number one reason why you might be a loser: you have an anger problem. Losers don't have enough self-control to stay calm when they're upset.
Oh, that makes me feel so good, because I feel like I've grown out of being a loser in that regard. I had terrible
over
anger
getting
problems.
mad kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I still have some healthy anger. I talked to a psychiatrist recently who's convinced that I'm repressing a lot of anger. I'm not entirely sure how much I believe him. Obviously,
if someone told me I was, I mean, yeah, probably.
Well, I think I have a lot of coping mechanisms around anger. And there are times where I could own a little more of my own righteous indignation. But like to me, I like to focus on like anger as being a secondary emotion and like what is it based off of. And so often the answer in my own experience is that it's fear, like fuck, that guy cut me off, and like I'm mad about it, right? And there's a voice in my head that's like, whoa, okay, so what just happened? Why are we mad? Well, I mean, he pulled out right in front of me. Okay, so you got pissed off, and well, I mean, he threatened. It was life-threatening. That was okay. So it was scary. And then what? Well, I had to like hit the brakes pretty quick, and I created some separation, and now I've got the gap, and okay, so the danger has passed. You no longer have to hold on to the fear. You can, fuck him, but what does it matter now? Maybe he's in a hurry. Maybe he's got his wife giving birth in the back seat. I don't know about.
Going fast, Mom. I think mine's sort of like that, except mine's, I can almost guarantee it's from like expectations.
Yeah.
Like I try to plan everything like fucking to the minute every day, and it's like if anything like gets in my plan, I get fucking angry.
Yeah.
And
I think you might be a loser.
Yeah.
Well, see, and I feel like I have a similar issue, but with a different sort of takeaway, or not takeaway, different.
Like a different cause to it, like
similar triggers with a different sort of lifestyle coping strategy. There's a word I'm looking for, but I try to avoid plans like the plague. I have.
You were here on time, so that's bullshit.
Well, you picked me up. So. I'm homeless.
Didn't seem like you avoided this, bro.
No, I do, and it gives me the freedom to, I can make smaller plans if I don't have regular plans all the time, taking all of my energy, making me feel like I'm exhausted. I had shit all to do. I had therapy today. That was cool. But yeah, I think I can't get in a hurry. I can't. They call it emotional lability. Your ability to change between being pissed off to being over it, based on whatever just happened. Right? Like if you have trouble letting go of anger, you might have poor emotional lability. I should look away when I use the P words.
Can you define the word
Lability?
lability?
Not descriptively, only receptively.
Okay, I'm
so
gonna Google it. It's
lability,
No.
It I think it definitely has to do with your ability to
It's like think of words with lability
Change.
at the end of it, and then figure it out.
yeah.
Deniability.
Someone needs to donate more money here so the Hive can get better Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, emotional lability is specifically like your ability to change emotional state based on whatever's happening.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So a lot of people will sort of try to misdiagnose their own children with like bipolar because, well, they were screaming bloody murder and then they were laughing. And it's
Yep.
like, that is actually a pretty rare kind of mental health condition where you have mood swings that are that rapid and that frequent.
It's like your kid's just hung over. Like,
It's like,
cut him some slack.
your kid
kid's a
was
kid.
mad because they had a
Yeah.
reason to be mad, and then something happened that caused them to be joyful, and they experience joy because they have good emotional lability, right? They're able to,
Be like water.
change their emotional state. Their emotional state flows with stimulus, and if you have poor emotional lability, you don't. And the way I always put it before hearing that term was, sorry, am I taking you way over?
No.
time?
I was just it's every once in a while the camera will just stop and
But the light will stay on.
it's
That's
bullshit.
the worst.
It doesn't make any sense.
Like I remember one time it cut off like 13 minutes in and we just didn't check because normally it works.
Oh, man.
And then like 30 minutes we had the audio luckily, which was cool, but
That's good.
we lost like 30 minutes of filming
Just
and
draw
like the light
stick
stayed
figures
on.
over it and make people like
That
shoot
would've
the
been
We
a good
camera.
literally
idea.
thought about animating it, but it's hard.
It is.
Yeah, it's really hard.
That's why you do, instead of like 2 frames a second or whatever, you do like 1 frame every 5 seconds and just show people like stick figures doing
Just
jumps
like
or whatever.
boom.
Look,
Right?
then I came over here. Water.
That's good. That's good.
But yeah, I have poor emotional lability. And like the way I always put it is like if I'm running late, it's really hard for me to change out of the hurry gear. If I get into a hurry, I can't change gears very easily. So if I show up to
Yeah.
work on time, I was stressing getting to work on time. I'm way early everywhere I go because if I'm on time, there's a chance I might get in a hurry. If I give myself, an extra half an hour and then, I can change a tire and still be on time.
Yeah.
Shit can happen. I can hit traffic and still be on time. And
For sure.
if I show up ridiculously early, then great. Now I've got time to scroll.
Cry in the
Facebook.
car. It's like
Yeah.
the first person to get there at work, has more time to cry in the parking lot.
That's very much true.
It's a nice mental reset before you go in.
Thank you for calling Verizon. So with anger, it's a hard one to say whether I'm a loser or not because I feel like I've learned to cope with anger really well. I've learned to conduct my life in a way that doesn't bring a lot of anger into my emotional state, but I still definitely have trigger ability.
Yeah.
What's that
Oh, I
music?
forgot there's other rooms being used here.
I thought it was coming in like really quietly on the headphones, and I was like, "What?"
I was just humming.
Humming in harmony.
I would say that like I was similar. Like I used to get angry like very often, and I feel like I'm the opposite though, and I have like very like good emotional lability. Like I can go from high to low, like and low to high really fast.
Yeah.
And so like, but I don't like get angry like. I get angry at stupid shit that I do, like losing my keys or like misplacing my phone for like less than 5 minutes. Like, it's like, where the fuck did I just put it? I just had it. What the fuck? I'm mad. And then I see it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think
it takes a lot of stacking up things to make me like I was actually getting quite agitated today because running into one thing than the other. Like I swear the elevators at the library were behaving differently today. Like it used to be like just going between second and third floor, they would like come down to second floor, switch to going back up.
I used to have
versus-
rehearsals there, and whenever we'd move shit up and down, it's so annoying. Every once in a while, you get just an off day with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, it's free here.
we gotta go all the way to the first floor, open the doors, let nobody on before we can come back up to the second floor to take you to the third floor. Like why? That's not the way this technology is designed anymore. And they haven't been recalibrated in a while. Like when they're missing their landings, so like they'll take forever to find the landing, and then the doors will open, and then as soon as you start to step
off or something.
It'll be just slightly off in one direction. But as soon as the doors open, and like as soon as you're about to take, like when that natural beat, now I'm stepping, that's when it goes to readjust violently, and then it's just a little bit off in the other direction.
Time.
Just God! Right when it's going to trip you, like it's pretty. It just needs recalibrated. But yeah, that was mildly agitating. But then smells, like I'm allergic to a lot of fragrance to anything. So like they have air freshener everywhere and sprayed everywhere. And then when somebody walks onto the elevator with a particularly heavy perfume, it hangs out there forever. In addition to the air freshener they have. When was the last time you saw an air freshener in an elevator? That's
In an elevator?
I've
I
never
don't
seen
think-
an air freshener.
That's how you know how many homeless people are at the
At the library.
because they have air fresheners in the.
Are they just
I
like
don't
the
know.
was
little
gonna say,
tree
I've never
ones in
seen
cars that they have hanging up, or is it like a
it's-
Glade something?
It's more similar to like one of those commercial dealy jobs where it looks like kind of the big housing that you would have the spray in, but it's just got like the big wax insert that just dries out over time and just leaks smell all the time.
Where do they have it?
It's just like if you're looking at the elevator door, it'll just be like up and to the right. Which I'm surprised you've not seen it because you're a little taller than me even, and it's like right there.
Well, it's also the only times I think I've been in the elevator at the library is like when we were moving stuff. So I was,
Yeah.
looking down and carrying things.
For sure.
But
But
yeah,
then I think the big thing that really it takes several things to stack up onto me. Like I had to fuck around with my car last night. I got a parking ticket, some bullshit going on, and then having a rough time with the library and the smells in the elevator is just a little bit more agitated. And then the moment my testicles touch the toilet water, I just fucking had enough. Like I can't deal with this today. Not at the library. You've betrayed me. It happens every time at Walmart. I've come to expect it from them.
we talked about this in I think the one we put up today. But your boy sits when he pees, and my dick will touch the like porcelain
I
sometimes.
hate that.
Ooh.
It makes me want to just stick my head in and drown myself.
When
It's
it
so
hits
annoying.
it and you're just like,
Oh yeah.
You're like,
Well, 'cause it's
I can't
cold.
sit any
Yeah.
further back.
yeah, it's cold and it's like,
And you
it
imagine
feels
it's
wet.
dirtier than
and
it
like,
is.
Oh yeah, you always
Yeah.
think it's disgusting.
And you're like, I did this yesterday. My dick has touched the same spot twice. Like, I'm disgusting.
It's the worst.
And you're like, I wonder how many other people have done this. I've just been touching dicks with everyone who's been in my apartment.
Yeah, well, and like you run
Or
into
Walmart.
a public restroom because you really got to drop a duke, and you get in there, you fucking let it go, you relax, and that's when they fucking hang, and they go for a dip, and like I just shit in that
You let
water.
your guard down.
I just shit in that water, and all that bacteria is just gonna crawl onto my fucking wrinkly bag, find a little crevice to grow in.
Like I gave myself an STD from the back to the front.
It's the worst. I hate it. It's disgusting, and it needs to be more accounting for testicles and toilets.
It's like, I don't know what fucking
Yeah, they should
no
put, like-
testosterone motherfuckers making these things, but
They should start
some
making
people
public
have weight down
toilets
there.
have like just extra bulges where it's just deeper.
Yeah.
Right, and it looks like every toilet has a pair of balls.
The
Or just a
ADA,
fucking hole that shoots down.
the ADA should regulate the length between the seat and the toilet water surface.
Why aren't all toilets
And then their
deeper?
balls.
Yeah.
Like just wait, like porta potty deep. Like you're just dropping deuces like 6 feet down. Like
My
into
dick's
a
never
pit of
touched the
despair.
bottom at a porta potty.
And then
I
you
don't
just
think.
and then you flush it and it's way down there too. So like you can be on the phone then too, and like the flush would be down there, so that it
Yeah,
wouldn't like
and that's-
sound like anything.
And that's the worst too with these the automatic flushing toilets is and the one
You
the one that
lean
was giving me
forward
trouble.
or something,
Yeah.
and then it flushes on you, and just like
I think some of those are being designed intentionally as hostile architecture.
Really?
If you go over here to jump and you try to take a dump at jump, go into their bathrooms and try to like lean back like you're relaxing a little bit, or like maybe you just took a shot of heroin, or like maybe you're trying to crank one out in a public restroom because there's nowhere for you to crank one
That's
out.
the relatable one. Been there. Keep going.
Well, that's something I've been trying to work out
I
on
won't
stage
shit in
too.
public,
It's like
but I'll jerk
Yeah.
off.
so I'm homeless. Where am I allowed to come?
oh god, yeah, that's tough.
Right? Like I don't
That's
know.
hard.
That's a whole other topic.
Hotel
to really
lobby
unpack.
bathrooms
There you go.
are money.
I hate bathrooms. I
Strip
hate
club
coming in
bathrooms.
I don't want to go where there's like I said, I already have problems with the air freshener, and then the only thing else you're getting, and the reason the air freshener is there is shit. Like it's just shit and air freshener. That's not neither of those things I want when I'm coming.
Dude,
trying to think
I think we're geniuses now.
Now that we've gotten on this topic, I really see the intelligence.
I don't need the rest of the questions. We're really smart.
But yeah, I think it does. It takes a lot of things to stack up to agitate me anymore. Whereas, like, I don't know, when I was a kid and I was angry all the time, I also really did not have a good time growing up, you know, between things at home and things at school and, you know, being really slow to learn social interactions, just not being neurotypical, and being really slow to learn social interactions because I grew up on a 5-acre farm. Mormon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said Mormon, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna fuck you up every time.
Yeah,
especially with other kids. Like,
yeah,
you're just a little weirdo when you're a Mormon. Like, you're so sheltered and just
it's
not
bizarre.
good at social interaction.
It's really crazy.
Yeah. So,
Like, you want to hang out with your family?
where at did you grow up? Where was your
Buell.
farm? Buell. Oh, really?
Buell, I know, just
Okay.
outside of Twin Falls.
Yep.
For those that are familiar.
All three of our
Quite
fans.
familiar. I'm quite familiar. I have some friends.
All three of you? Any of you from Buell?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know a kid from Buell.
These are the podcasts though to talk directly to, like, great for the 3 fans that are here, and the rest of you that are listening to this in the future. You'll never be as cool as them. But thank you for coming back to the early episodes.
right.
You really
That's
are an OG.
true.
That's right. That's
You
true.
Wanted
honestly,
to
yeah.
see where it all started.
Yeah, that's true. If you actually like take the time to, like, you've listened to all the like pretty recent podcasts of like one of your favorites, and you take the time to go back and be like, you know what, I'm gonna start from the beginning. I'm gonna listen to them all. Like,
It's
that's
crazy how many
dedication.
started totally
That is
different than like how
dedication.
they are when they're like
Oh yeah.
successful.
Well, you figure it out as you go.
Yeah,
right?
and you hear feedback. That's the great thing about podcasting, is because you just continue to do it and you get that live like feedback constantly from like people. Well, if like people are giving you feedback.
And the thing I've been is like, I mean, everyone says like everyone has a fucking podcast. It's like, I think everybody starts one.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a billion people that have like gone all out on like an intro episode, and they're like, come in next week, and then nothing ever. And it seems like
Yeah.
it's just consistency.
Yeah.
Just like stand up, just keep fucking doing it, and then
Well,
be somewhat nice to most people. And
I think anything you do creatively, you should do first and foremost for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, a lot of good things come out of selfishness. But like my journey with comedy is like, I'm not out here trying to get famous, trying to get big. Of course I think about it, and of course I think I
would
would
be
love
rad.
it, right? And for me though, it's loving what I'm doing now, and feeling like I am where I'm supposed to be. Like I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still getting better at it. I feel like I'm growing as a person the more I interact with comedy in the community, and that's dope. And if it starts to make me money, then that's cool too. But those are the things that I like to watch. You know, I love nerds. I love anyone who's like a real nerd on their topic, and like
hearing somebody get excited about something is.
Yeah.
It's cool seeing that like light up in someone's eye when like you
you
ask
really
them about
ask
something
people
they're
this?
interested in, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and they're like, "Oh my god, like I
watch-
can't wait to rifle off about this." You know?
Like, I'm gonna piss you off with how much I talk about.
I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's this one I've been watching, Puddin's Fab Shop. He just like 2-3 hours, and he's pretty good at keeping his own personal views separate from his content, which I'm not. So if you don't enjoy my personal views, you won't enjoy anything I make. But he does a lot of like gearhead stuff, like motor.
Yeah.
Like he mostly naturally aspirated engines, not a lot of fuel injection systems. He's, you know, older vehicles, and he's just a nerd that likes to play with engines and vehicles and has ideas that he wants to do, and he's just really into what he's making. And I'm learning so much from him, but I'm just entertained as heck because he's really into it. I just love that. I love when people are into what they do. And like, to me, that's what a podcast should be. It's like, hey, I think I have really awesome conversations with my friends, and here's an opportunity to have more awesome conversations with other people, and kind of formatted thing. This is a really cool way. I like to listen to podcasts and the way that people talk to each other. And if you have anybody who's at all interested in listening to you and your friends prattle on, well, here's where you can go find it. You know, it's just there.
I think I just love seeing how brains work. Like, this will sound sad, but I really like drinking by myself and then like just writing something, just because, like, I don't know, it's cool, like just seeing where you can take your brain.
It's very
And,
Hemingway of you.
But that's why I think podcasts are cool, because it's like you see how, like, it does seem like it's just people bullshitting, but whenever they do get to that one thing that's like cool to hear, you see the whole process of how the conversation got to that.
Yeah.
And that's dope.
That is dope, seeing like a conversation like evolve into something totally different.
Yeah.
Also, like, we had someone a little while ago like kind of hounding us, like what's the point, you know, like what's the game, like what's the game? I'm like, there is no point, like we just do it because we're having fun, and like we enjoy listening to podcasts, and like it's like really fun to like get on and like talk and express yourself creatively, like in a way that, like, you know, you can be honest and like just have fun with it and talk bullshit and fucking.
And what a time that we live in to like be able to hear perspectives outside of your own physical regional bubble.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because before to like do that, it'd be like your only shot really was like TV or something, and you have to like go through a billion people. But like this is like anyone. This is where like I guess the whole where people say everyone has a podcast. It's like because everyone can just start one up like that.
Well, and even not too long ago, like there was only like 25 channels on TV anyway, so you're only getting like so much exposure to that. Like unless you were actually like traveling around and
network and money controls every word that you hear. You know, and yeah, the internet's opened up a lot of different avenues of interconnection.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful.
Unfortunately, we haven't really caught up to how we qualify our data. I think a lot of people haven't put a lot of thought into how much they care for qualifying their data. In fact, we were just having this conversation with LJ and Tyson on another podcast that was what did they call it? Now the word epidemiology is stuck in my head, and that's not what it was. It's how we know what we know. If you want to look up how do we know what we know, I'm sure the philosophy will come up.
Like on their podcast that they were talking about, or
I mean, we were talking about the subject of morality and I just told my therapist this. I just had the term in my head. Morality and epistemology is what it is. Epistemology is how we know what we know, and it's a huge part of philosophy is well, how do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know that? But really, what it comes down to when you're looking into epistemology is like, you know, what do I think I know, and what am I basing that off of? So even if you're not doing the full epistemological, is my bottle really going to drop when I let it go of it this time? Just because it has every other time doesn't mean it's going to this time. Like I can't prove that with absolute certainty. Like you don't have to go that deep into it. You just go like, are these vaccines really safe for me? Am I sure about why am I sure about that? And I'm not sure about that, but I know that out of all of the times that our government has like done atrocities to our own citizens in the name of medicine, not white people. Not white people en masse. You know, it just hasn't happened. It's unprecedented. It doesn't feel, and I feel like it's such a widespread effort with so many different people from so many different angles trying to come up with different solutions to this epidemic that there would be a lot more very credible people saying, well, that's by the way, the virus isn't actually real or whatever, you know.
That's, I feel like, where the internet becomes like that double-edged sword, right? Like where it is great for like interconnecting like people within different communities and like different cultures. It also creates like so many
you'll reinforce
so many channels of like different content that's coming out of like so many different places, and like something may look credible and like not everyone is properly educated on how to like see if something's credible or not, so like misinformation just like gets strewn around like crazy. So
and that's where I'm saying I feel like we need to do as a culture, there's a bit of growing up we need to do in thinking about how we qualify our information, because you absolutely will find a confirmation bias rabbit hole for anything you want to believe. And like, if you ever really look into flat earthers and flat earth theory,
Oh God,
it's amazing.
it is insane.
But the initial premise on how flat earth theory forms originally, let alone the people who are into it now, but the original premise is basically literally that. How do I know what I think I know? I've just been told by people who purport to be authority figures. And one of the guys who was like key founder of modern flat earth theory, and yeah, a lot of argumentation that he didn't make it up himself. No, he didn't. But he was definitely one of the big people laying the groundwork of what is today's flat earth theory. He's just a huge fan of the Truman Show. He literally thinks we live in the Truman Show because he's thought about it too much, and he thinks that everyone in authority is all part of the same conspiracy, and it just
God's a
except
spaghetti
for the people
monster.
at your conventions.
Yeah, right.
I don't understand where, like, is it literally everyone? And you can tell that his wife is kind of uncomfortable when, you know, he gets into it, and it's like his model trains passion, you know, and she's like, oh, it's cute that he's really into it. But then, like, in the interview, they kind of question and like challenge how much she believes in it, and he's wanting her to reinforce that, oh no, she totally gets it, she understands, because she never tells him he's full of shit, right? She thinks it's
He's
cute,
just quirky.
right? But then when on camera she's, you know, being asked to, you know, buy into his bullshit, she gets really uncomfortable.
Oh God.
Listen, I know he's full of shit, but just be nice, okay?
Like, what do you think about the flat earth? They're like, my husband's funny.
He's
a
such
funny
a
guy.
silly goose.
Yeah. He's one of those guys waiting for a light to fall out of the sky to prove it to him, because he's. And the best part about this documentary that I watched was flat earthers would propose scientific theories to prove the Earth being flat. And I said, well, if it's not flat, then we should see this data. But since it is flat, we're going to see that data. First of all, bad scientists, stop that.
True.
Second of all, they kept on getting data that reinforced the curvature of the Earth. One of them, they got this really expensive gyroscope, like a laser gyroscope thing, and it's all contained in a box. So you can set it, and over a period of time, it should experience what we call spin drift, which is gyroscopes are stable because of, you know, conservation of angular momentum things going on there. So if you try to push on one side of a spinning wheel, that action will occur basically 90 degrees ahead in rotation. So it'll kind of wobble and bring itself back around. There's a really simple Vsauce video, I think, on explaining how that works. Maybe Veritasium did a similar thing, but since the gyroscope is trying to spin flat to its original orientation,
Eventually, kind of.
Yeah, it'll seem to tilt in the frame of reference we're looking at it as the Earth continues to spin kind of underneath it, right? Which is amazing how physics works that way. Like it is, you know, we think about like, being in a box and, you know, bodies that are together and like we're hurtling through space with the Earth and our entire frame of reference is based on the Earth. But if I just start spinning, suddenly I'm my own foreign object in space. Yeah. It's crazy. But, they're like, we should see spin drift, and we don't see spin drift at all. We won't see it at all. And then they got the exact mathematically what you should see based on what they say the Earth says. For spin drift. If it's really rotating this fast and it's a ball Earth, then we should see 15 degrees of spin drift in 45 minutes. Exactly. And they're like, well, who did we buy the compass from? They're in on it too.
You made the compass, bro.
Right. No, they did. They bought a big expensive laser gyroscope for like sciencey applications. They had some dude with money who is into flat Earth like contribute to it.
All of science is in on it.
Right. So of course they produced all of this. So the other thing that they did that is a lot harder to blame your tools was they found a really flat stretch of road. And it's a flat straight shot long enough, and they have this ditch, and they're saying, well, you know, they've got water in the ditch, so the surface level of the water, and it's not running very fast. It's a fairly slow moving ditch. There's still an amount of pitch to account for that they seem to be totally oblivious to. The surface of the water is totally flat, so we're going to see. And they set up this survey line, so they have like a stick in one side of the ditch, and from the surface of the water up to the point they have the laser pointer, and a stick in the other side of the ditch, and surface of the water, and then up to the target of the laser pointer, right? And we should see that, since the Earth is flat, it's going to hit it dead on right here. It's going to be a bit of a spread beam because it's quite a distance, but because the Earth's flat, it's going to hit it dead on. And if it wasn't flat, based on what they say the curvature of the Earth is, since this is just a flat piece of water, it's going to be, and exactly, it's curved as exactly as they say it is.
So, are they geniuses, or are they? I gotta check the list.
Sign number 3: you're dating a loser. Flat Earth. Moving on.
Yeah, it's word for word, dude.
That's exactly what it said.
They're geniuses.
It is
crazy.
It's interesting for me to think about flat earthers because more of us should ask the question they started with.
It's a good do agree with that mindset of I've never seen it, and no one people have just told me it's like this, so I should quit. That makes perfect sense.
How many senses do you have?
Is this a trick question? Or?
Yes. Oh. But I mean, what were you taught? What were you taught about how many senses you have?
5.
5, right?
Yeah.
We got touch, taste, sight, smell, sound. Close your eyes.
I always think it's 6. I don't know why.
Touch your fingertip to your nose with your eyes closed. How the fuck did you do that? What sense did you use for that? It's got a cool name, but
my third eye? I don't know.
I forget what it's called. It's got a pretty cool name, but you do actually have a sense of the spatial relationship of your body parts to each other. And it's not really touch. It's not that. There's just something. We also have a sense of the passage of time. It's not very accurate, but we sense time passing. I think by the time I read the article, they said scientists had listed and agreed on at least 27 different senses at the time.
Oh fuck!
Whoa!
Yeah. So when you talk about sixth sense, you're like, well, which one are you talking about?
Yeah,
the movie.
Look, I have a sixth sense. Oh, that's crazy.
That's wild. Or they're maybe they can sense what temperature it is really well. Every time they walk outside, they're just 36 degrees Celsius.
They were a wee blow.
I think that would be a trained perception kind of thing, but I think generally we would say temperature comes down to touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't know, maybe they did distinguish it now, but you remember the map of the tongue and the different tastes and
Where you're
where
bitter
it's
and this, that,
sweet and salty or whatever.
There's definitely not a map. The taste buds that react to those are pretty well spread around. You can have kind of density zones, but it's going to be wildly different person to person. And there's definitely more tastes than, again, we're talking about buckets, right?
Yeah.
We put these things into the sweet bucket, these things into the bitter bucket, and then some Japanese guy discovers that there's a flavor that nobody's describing. It's not savory. That's not what it is. It's umami, and it's MSG. And sour is basically just detecting acidity. Malic acid is the one we use for super sour candy and stuff. It's liquid sour.
It's imagine you're at a restaurant and they serve you food and you're like, it kind of tastes like shit. And they're like, no, bro, chew on this side of your mouth. Classic mistake.
You're using the wrong taste buds,
New
idiot. You've clearly never eaten here at Sabor de Pong.
This is the right chew restaurant, bro. We should wrap this up because it's getting hot in here. And there's a fan that I want to get on.
Right on.
Turn on.
Yeah.
Nobody on the podcast wants me to take off all my clothes.
Maybe nobody.
They might not, but we can all go shirtless in solidarity.
I already did that at the abortion protest. So if you go look at the right-wing Facebook sphere right now, you might see me with my titties out.
Nice.
Making an ass of myself.
I heard there's going to be another
video.
one
It's inappropriate
tomorrow.
content.
Oh, man.
There should be some going on every day. That would be righteous. Cause,
That would be righteous.
That was one of the things they were talking about is, it happened over the weekend, so a lot of people are able to show up immediately, but we'll really see the level of support and the level of people coming out based on, what keeps happening as the work week resumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this will come out in a month probably.
Cool.
But do you have dates past that?
No,
Maybe a big event?
I don't have anything booked currently. I do work pretty closely with the Blue City in comedy. You can catch me doing open mics all the time at Mad Swede downtown, especially because it's kind of where I'm mostly based. Mad Swede, Blue City. Jack Mormon Comedy Hour. That's a Crystal Moore production. I have been involved with that a lot in the past. Would be stoked to continue doing that in the future, and love to drive people toward that show, especially if you have any if you have any personal relationship with the Mormon Church, whether you were raised Mormon or you had a bunch of Mormon friends or you're from a really Mormon town. If it's occupied a chunk of your life, I think getting into the Jack Mormon Comedy Hour there'll be something for you, and it is comedy. But it's a huge experience for me, just getting into, and maybe this is a good place to leave it off without actual plugs, is growing up in the church. The gaslighting is you can feel the spirit, right? And it is an actual sensation. I've felt it. You walk into the room and you have this sensation, and they say that's the spirit, and that's how you know the church is true. And I think that sensation is community. The sense that you're welcome, that you belong, that you're in a group of like-minded individuals, that we're all kind of on the same page, and we all have a shared understanding of the world that, you know, maybe not everybody has access to, so that makes us feel kind of special about ourselves or whatever. But what's really, really, really powerful to me is when you go to a comedy show at a gay bar serving liquor, and you have a bunch of apostates of the church coming to fucking bash on it, and you're hit with that overwhelming sensation that you've learned to recognize as the spirit. And if that can be here, they must be full of shit, because they said it absolutely couldn't be here.
Amen.
True dat. True dat. Drop the mic.
Boom. I won't. This is
Please don't. Max paid
Please
for these.
respect the equipment.
Well, that was
nice.
fun, dude.
It was nice meeting and
thanks for
talking
having
with
me.
you on the pod.
Absolutely.
I'd like to shake the hand
Yeah.
of the man.